The tractor that refused to die. How a 1948 Farmall saved a village. There's something about old iron that most people don't understand. When you see a rusted tractor in a field, you see scrap metal. I see a heartbeat waiting to start. Today's story is about a 16-year-old kid named James, a broken 1948 Farmall Model M, and determination that rebuilt an entire community. Rural America, Midwest. 20,000 acres of farmland, barely surviving. Behind an old farmhouse, buried in weeds, sits our hero, a Farmall Model M that hasn't run in 3 years. James wakes up on the morning that changes everything. He's 16, walks into his mother's room, and finds her gone. Just like that. The world stops. His father takes it worse. Day by day, the man crumbles, sits by that dead Farmall, staring at nothing, losing his grip. And then one morning, he snaps. Sets fire to the house. James and his grandfather watch everything turn to ash. Now it's just two of them. A 78-year-old grandfather who can't work anymore, and a kid who's got to become a man overnight. And sitting there in the weeds is that 1948 Farmall Model M. International Harvester built these machines tough. 2,800 pounds of cast iron and steel, a 4-cylinder engine that could pull anything. This one plowed every acre for 15 years straight before the engine died. James walks up to it one morning, runs his hand along that faded red paint, feels the rust. Everybody else sees a dead tractor. James sees the only chance they've got. See that subscribe button? It's our exchange. Your way of saying this reached me. Not about the action size, but its meaning. So hit it if this resonated, drop it the like if it moved you, and comment your thoughts on this story. Let's complete this circle together. So he starts. No manual, no YouTube, just a kid and a toolbox. First morning, he pulls the spark plugs, caked solid with carbon. Second morning, he drains oil that's turned to black sludge thick as tar. The grandfather sits on his wooden chair, watching. Doesn't say much, but every few days, he'll mention something. How the carburetor flooded on cold mornings. Where the linkage stuck. Small things that matter. 3 months in, James has that Farmall stripped to the engine block. Pistons out, valves out, every bearing spread across a tarp. Some nights he falls asleep right there, too tired to move. His hands get cut, scarred, calloused. They start looking like a mechanic's hands, not a boy's. And he learns fast, finds an old mechanic who trades parts for labor, trades his grandfather's watch for piston rings. Takes 2 tries to get the valve timing right, but when that engine turns over smooth, he knows he's close. Month 5. James rebuilds the magneto, wrapping new wire himself, fabricates a throttle cable from bicycle brake line, walks 12 miles to pull a carburetor off a parts tractor, carries it back in a sack. His grandfather watches it all, sees this kid turn into something else, something harder and stronger, sees those hands get cut and scarred and calloused until they look like a mechanic's hands, not a boy's. His grandfather watches it all, sees this kid turn into something different, something harder and stronger. Every small victory, the old man nods. Every setback, he just waits, knowing James won't quit. And then comes the day. Early morning, first light. James climbs into that seat for the first time, checks fuel and throttle. His grandfather stands in the yard, leaning on his cane. James pulls the choke, hits the starter, and that Farmall coughs. Once, twice, then catches. That 4-cylinder roars back to life after 3 years. White smoke pours from the exhaust, clean. The machine shakes and settles into that distinctive Farmall rhythm. James cries in the seat while his grandfather raises one hand in victory. But getting the tractor running was step 1. Now they had to make it earn. 20,000 acres of fallow ground. If they plant wheat, if the weather holds, If the Farmall can handle the work, they might survive. James starts before dawn, hooks the three-bottom plow, drops it into the ground, starts turning soil. Yet that Farmall pulls steady, hour after hour. 2,800 pounds pulling all day, and that old M never complains. The four-cylinder sings that distinctive rhythm, turning virgin ground into cropland. The grandfather handles the books, orders seed, makes calls. Together they plant 150 acres of winter wheat, everything they can manage. Harvest comes good. Not great, but good enough. James sells the crop, and for the first time in a year, they have real money. Not much, but enough to think about something bigger than survival. The burned house lot sits empty. James could rebuild something small. Instead, he takes that harvest money and starts building a community house. Big enough for meetings, gatherings, families who need help. Neighbors think he's crazy, but James knows what a community that pulls together can do, and knows because he watched his grandfather teach him to fix a tractor nobody believed in. The house goes up. Villagers start helping. And at the center, in the front yard, James parks that 1948 Farmall. Washes it, touches up the red paint, makes it shine. A reminder of what happens when you refuse to quit. 10 years pass. James is 26, and that village thrives. The community house feeds 70 people a week. Fields are productive. Young people stay. And every morning, James fires up that same Farmall. His grandfather passes peacefully one winter. Still in his wooden chair, still watching. More years. James turns 40, then 50. The Farmall is still running. Over 6 decades old, but James keeps it perfect. Original engine, original transmission, still pulling that same plow. At 75, James is the village elder. Young people call him Tractor Man. How a 16-year-old kid and a dead Farmall saved a community. How when everything was ashes and rust, the only thing that mattered was refusing to quit. He stands in the village square one evening, that old Farmall idling beside him, sun going down, painting everything gold. He tells the young people the same thing his grandfather told him. The machine doesn't care if you're scared, doesn't care if you're tired. It just needs someone willing to do the work. And if you show up every day and refuse to quit, that old iron will carry you farther than you imagined. That 1948 Farmall Model M is still there, still running, still teaching the same lesson. Some things are worth saving. Some things you don't let die. If this story moved you, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Now drop a comment and tell me about the tractor in your life, the one that taught you something, the one you'll never forget. Because every one of us has that machine, the one that mattered. Until next time, keep that iron running.